Hey everyone, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys have been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Excuse me if my voice is going to be a little bit lower than per usual. It's just a little bit late, so I just want to be, a little bit courteous. Um, I just got done watching Padre Pio, which was directed by Abel for I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's the director who gave you Bad Lieutenant, as well as a couple of collaborations with Willem Dafoe in the past, like Pasolini, among other things. Um, which, oddly enough, actually, Willem Dafoe I heard was in talks to do this with Shia LaBeouf, but for some reason or another he dropped out. Would have been actually really nice to have seen him in the film. Um, Stars Shia LaBeouf as the title character, and at least it is marketed in that way. And Ultimately, what the film is trying to do is that it's trying to represent two varying yet similar perspectives on how the effects of presumably, I believe it is World War One that they're depicting. I'm not familiar too much with history and stuff, so forgive me, but I believe it's post World War One. Um, and it's set within, of course, these religious ideologies, these societies, Christian societies, um, and um, and it's trying to portray how the experiences led by Padre Pio are also very similar to those of who are forming of a rebellion of sorts against to what they believe to be an oppressive and tyrannical organization. Um, and the thing about the film is that it's mistitled. I don't believe that it should have been called Padre Pio. It should have been called Rebellion because the film is not really about Padre Pio really at all. There's select scenes of Padre Pio in the film, but the film itself is not really about Padre Pio. What it is really about is about this group um, that is trying to seize power and to further their message of religion and through the teachings of Jesus and God and all that stuff. And if you guys know, I'm not particularly religious in that regard. I wear the cross, but I wear it for personal reasons, not for Christian or Jesus beliefs and stuff like that. More for spiritual reasons and stuff like that. But just in case you guys notice me wearing it, and but um, but the film itself, I feel, is misguided, and I believe just really, um, I just I just believe does not have a full understanding of its own self. It's not a film about its central character. The character that they believe to be central is actually a supporting player in the film, um, and um, it is just just filled with nauseating types of filmmaking. Just like I don't mind shaky cam. I really don't. I don't mind like a little bit of shakiness, but when the full frame has to look like this, and it's just so redundant, and how many times they utilize it as on top of like that stupid stop slow motion thing where you see people looking around and they do instead of like looking like this they'll go like this, like they'll do it super slow motion. um, there's like the issues stem from the craftsmanship because the things that were notable about it were, I mean, Shia LaBeouf, I think, is always an interest to watch on screen. I think that he actually, for the most part, for what the select scenes that he has in the film, I think they're actually fairly compelling. Um, and a lot of it has to do with his performance. And it's, there's a lot of stuff that's been talked about with him, getting into the role. He's he's an artist. I mean, he that puts himself into a lot of these roles, and I think he's a real inspiration for me personally when it came to acting. Um, and I believe he converted into Catholicism, and among doing other things for the role, and that commitment shows. He's fairly convincing. There's one scene in particular where he's talking to somebody, and they have decided that they don't believe in God, and his Shia's response to that is really, really, I believe to be probably the best scene in the whole film, really. But but the issues are when Shia is not present, the film is just a drag. Just did not care about anything else about the film. Um, because from a technical point of view, from just the overall craftsmanship, from just the other performances that are there, it is just nauseating, boring, and just in some ways just laughable because it's the film it's the attitude of an amateur, not that of of a of artistic expression, or just of someone who of a genuine filmmaker. It feels cheap, like it feels restrained, and it feels lazily executed. Like it's not something that utilizes its budgetary restraints in more meaningful manners. It's just like when you have a small budget like that. Like one of my favorite film of the year is Skinamarink, and Skinamarink is a film that was like what, $1,000 or something like that. Um, and that's a film to me that just perfectly uses its restraints to the fullest, and you don't you forget that that film it cost as much as it did because of how of the artistry of it, because of how it utilizes itself. With this, the whole time you're watching this and thinking, yeah, wow, they did not have a lot of money while making this. um, like even from the other stuff, like the ADR, there is blatant ADR. Like I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure. Someone can confirm it, but I'm pretty sure that there is ADR being used for like translation. Like there's some people who are probably, I don't know if they're talking super low or they're just not speaking English, but there's like times where there's like voices that are not synced properly, and um, there's at one point where, like, I see so that one scene with Shia where he really gives a good performance in that scene. Um, the person he's talking to is, I looked it up because I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't seeing things. It's not a transgender in that scene. It's a woman who is playing a man. So it's a person who knows that they're a woman, and they're portraying a man, and it was like just really blatant and really odd, like odd choices like that being thrown in. Um, and the film is trying conceptually to be something of an arresting type of approach, but the problem with it is a lot to do with how it executes these elements. Like they're like just so uninspired and just kind of full of itself, really. Like it just I just got really like the more of the slow mo play, the more of the technical glitches and stuff like that started appearing. It just became more and more apparent how unpolished it really is. Because that's kind of the description of it. Really, it's just a really unpolished and really lazily directed piece that has merit because of that performance. And also, again, another word for it would be just completely misleading, because this is not a story of Padre Pio in the slightest. It's an element in the background. The film should have been called Rebellion, and at the end of the day, it should have been called Rebellion, because that's much more accurate, a more accurate title, because that's more or less what the film is about. Padre literally, I think, shows up for maybe 15-20 minutes, and the film is about like an hour and a half long. Um, so it's almost like the film is like reminding. It's like it reminds itself. It's like, oh, right, right. We're called Padre Pio. Yeah, go back to Shia for a minute. Um, or what I think what might have happened is that perhaps Shia didn't have, they didn't make schedule him in for, for the time they needed him for, like maybe like a week's tops, and they're just like, all right, let's just get his scenes done, and we'll just try to pad this out somehow. Like I don't like. It's really it's it's messy, and um, it's a bit irritating, but more to what I said earlier, it's just misleading. It's redundant. It's just so unpolished and so lazily crafted. Like there's so many issues, and like post production needed a lot more time to really polish this up, and um, like just the overall attitude of it, like it needed an overhaul in the post production stages, because I do think that as a narrative, it also like lacks a huge focus, and like I could not for the life of me care for what was going on with the rebel group. I had literally zero care for them throughout the entire film. I had no care about, they brought up something about an election, something about the voting process. I was just like, I just don't care about any of this stuff. And then Shia appears, and I go, okay, I'm kind of interested again. And then he leaves, and then I snooze. So it's I just didn't care until Shia appeared. So thank 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 God that Shia was there, because without Shia, I probably would have fell asleep. So yeah, uh, yeah. So it's not completely about Mara, because of what Shia is bringing to it, um, but it is far from what it's titled. It is not at all about Padre Pio. Very, very misleading film. And um, I think that if you were to, polish up the script, like just start over. just just start over. I mean, I was saying like post production, but then I was thinking more about the story. I'm like, I wouldn't want that same story again. It just needed to start over. It just needed to, go back to the drawing board, because yeah, it's just yeah. I appreciate seeing Shia LaBeouf again though. I want to see more of Shia LaBeouf, because he really is talented, and it's unfortunate to where he's at nowadays. Um, and I heard that he was going to retire actually before doing Padre Pio, and I'm glad he didn't, because the man's very talented, and this film is another example of that. So if you're curious to see more of Shia's acting, I would say watch the film, but that I would just say just look up clips if you can. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Padre Peo. Just a snooze really, but you guys know your thoughts on Padre Peo if you did see it. I'm surprised that it made it to VOD, because of the fact that people are still having issues with Shia LaBeouf, with marketing him and stuff like that. But you guys want to know your thoughts on the film if you did choose to see it in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for watching this review. And we'll have more reviews out pretty soon here. Like I said, this month's going to be pretty busy with reviews. But until then, I'll catch you guys in the next video.